Hello, IGN, and specifically Facebook. My name is Jose Otero. I'm here with Per Schneider, Brian Altano,
Pizza.
And this is a very special live edition of Nintendo Voice Chat, which is a podcast that you can find on IGN, on iTunes, on Google Play, on wherever you go. And specifically, we were called together today to talk about Nintendo's big announcements, which came out of their investors' results last night. So there's a lot to talk about. If you're watching on Facebook, please, by all means, add comments and questions. We're going to get to you. But first, let's talk about what was said. Specifically, let's lead off with that. Nintendo's next platform, codename NX, which the company had to announce when they talked about their smartphone plans, about a year ago, has now has a date, March 2017. Nintendo is saying they're going to launch the system globally. Now, that doesn't mean all on one day to me. That means in March, it's going to spread between different territories, which means I hope their production's figured out. But that's a big deal. However, this platform will not be at E3, will not be shown in any capacity at this year's E3.
So we don't even get like a controller or the power cable or nothing. No. Nothing at all.
From what they're saying right now, and they did do this with Zelda in the past, right? Where they said, hey, we're not going to show this, and they stuck to it. And I believe it. It's a very shrewd move. First of all, the NX wasn't announced for this year as a new console coming out.
Yeah.
But we had assumed it because the Wii U slate looked pretty empty with the exception of Zelda. Now with Zelda out of the picture, and that's the other story, right? Zelda not coming out this year, you're looking at the holiday season and you're like, wait a second. So if NX comes out in March and the Wii U's last hurrah is this Christmas, what's in that hurrah? Like, what games are we going to get? And tie that in with the announcement that E3 will focus entirely on Zelda. I'm a little surprised.
It's
like,
a
what's going on here?
worrisome move for a company that has said over and over that they didn't want to burn the Wii U consumer. But the Wii U consumer right now can't help but feel a little burned because they don't know what they're going to be playing past June outside of Paper Mario Color Splash, which didn't get the best reception. But to focus more on NX, I guess my bigger question, Brian, just weigh in on first that announcement, and then I want to ask you guys, like, what do you think this means for that console? Like, will it succeed or fail because it's not an E3?
So, I mean, we've talked about this before, but one of the biggest hurdles that the NX faces is obviously getting games, getting third-party support. This, I think, hopefully opens them up to get on the phone more and get more games on that thing. I was incredibly worried thinking it would launch this fall, and that they hadn't really called enough third parties, or their sort of resources are spread thin between the 3DS, the Wii U. Mobile now, which is another platform they're starting to very much take seriously. In another way, it's very interesting because you've never really seen Nintendo launch a console in the spring like this. You know, holidays is when you launch consoles, historically. But this fall, specifically, the NX would have been going up against like 7 different VR units. It would have been going up against possibly the PlayStation 4.5 or the Xbox One 2. Who knows if any of those things are going to happen? I mean, there's rumors swirling about all those guys coming out with their own consoles. Putting those head-to-head against VR or in some ways with VR, and Nintendo kind of sitting off to the side being like, well, we also have this thing. It's interesting. So I think it clears the space for them to come out and own a lot of retail space next spring, to own the conversations about getting new video game consoles. So
well, and it opens the door for when that message gets delivered. It's standalone, right? And it's going to attract eyeballs. I mean, the fact that we're all going absolutely bonkers over what got said in an investor's report is already signs to me that message is going to get out there. The question is it going to reach enough people? To me, though, it is clear that NX is not ready to show, and I actually applaud the idea of not having it at E3 and risk showing something that isn't ready. Yes, I do.
Okay, I agree. You have only one time to make a good impression, and you know, Sony has shown how powerful E3 can be, right? Like, Sony's PlayStation 4 succeeded based on the positive messaging that they started at E3 and how they leveraged Xbox messaging
and a little smack
them,
talk,
right?
yeah.
And so, what's going to happen though? Like, if all we're getting is like this kind of muted announcement in the fall out of Japan through another investors call, that's not going to get developers excited. And so there needs to be another big coming out. I mean, maybe that is Gamescom or another event, but like you're not hitting GDC, you're not hitting E3, and so the whole story that they're getting in front of developers, well, the best way to get in front of developers, get them excited, is to show the freaking thing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I mean, they're clearly breaking tradition and not showing hardware at E3, which is typically the place that you show new hardware and then you show it, basically sell it in the year or 2 year span. However, I don't think from a tech perspective or from an audience perspective, it will limit them if they are saying the right things and they pick the right way to present it. I think when it's standalone, it does not compete with Microsoft and with PlayStation and with that branding, that they basically get the attention they deserve, and that's what they're trying to do.
Nintendo's also been moving around the definition of what E3 even means to them for what, 4 years now, 3 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of doing that live show in the Nokia Theater with a packed crowd screaming and yelling, or sometimes just having a sort of muted golf clap if they didn't have the best showing, they changed their focus. And I think it's sort of fascinating because last year their E3 was basically a bunch of singles and doubles, right? It's a bunch of like kind of small little hits here and there. And this time they're focusing on one big grand slam. Now, I don't know if that's going to be enough to keep them sort of in the mouthpieces of everybody during the basically video game Christmas, because we're going to be talking about so many different games. But if you're at E3 and you're not a big Zelda guy, which I don't know what's wrong with you, this is all you're really getting. So love it or not, this is the big news from this. And I'm a little surprised we're not even getting a tease, like maybe a 30-second teaser trailer of what a controller might look like. I mean,
I wouldn't overlook the fact, though, that Nintendo can announce games that won't be playable on the show floor.
For sure.
And I think that there'll be smaller titles. If anything, in last E3 is any indicator, they are not afraid to show you what they have. I mean, last year, they clearly showed what they had, and they did not show Zelda, and it hurt them in the end. They tried to promote Wii U, and it ended up not paying dividends. And I feel the year before, they tried even harder.
Okay,
in
but
2014.
a console announcement is different. And I feel like the Wii, if all we had seen was a presentation, a video presentation of the drummer playing it, and like kind of like
Ravi
an
drums.
awkward demo of old people swinging controllers, I don't think it would have sold us on the Wii. The Wii, when everybody got hands-on with it at E3 and you played it and you're like, oh my God, this tennis totally works, this is great. That's when the positive word of mouth started. And if we're playing armchair analyst here. We don't know what the NX is. Maybe we'll look at the NX and a picture will tell you everything you need to know, or like the distribution or subscription strategy will tell the story.
Yeah.
But if it is more experiential and it's different from these other machines where you really need to experience it, like I say, the earlier the better to get that story started.
But you can still get the wow factor by dropping a video that clearly states that message, still inviting the press to a place where you have Ravi Drums or whoever it is demoing
Please
this
no.
thing, or Beyonce or whatever you pull off, pull it off.